What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel video. Now, recently I ended up doing a video in regards to the first batch of fusion monsters that had got announced into the game of Rush Duels, those being Yuo's 3 new fusion monsters, and a fusion monster for each of the main 7 group, Yuga, Luke, Roman, Gakuto, Roa, Asana, and Nail. But in that video, there were 2 other fusions that I did not cover that also got announced, those being Yuga and Rook's main boss fusion monsters. Now, the reason why I didn't do it in that video specifically was because of the fact that when I ended up recording that video, those 2 cards were not announced. In fact, I was about almost done with actually editing the video is when those announcement for those 2 cards ended up coming out. And originally I wasn't going to do a video on it, but since there's actually a little bit more towards these fusions, not only again being the boss monsters for Yuga and Rook for their fusion specifically, but also there's something additional going on with these fusions that I felt like it was warrant doing a video on it, because I did mention in the last video as well that I wouldn't really be doing too many Rush Duel videos in regards to fusions. I more was looking at just doing one video and that was going to be it, unless something big was with these fusions that I felt like needed to be covered. And guess what? This was one of those instances, so that is what I'm going to be covering in this video. I'm going to be covering these 2 new fusion monsters that had gotten announced to us. So, without further ado, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. So the first boss fusion we'll be going over in this video is going to be Yuga's, and Yuga's new fusion is Seven's Paladin, the Magical Knight. It is a dark Magical Knight fusion effect monster with 2900 attack and 2400 defense. So that is the big thing that comes with these 2 new monsters, is it's going to be not just one, but 2 more types that are going to be coming into the game of Rush Duel. So in total, there will be 3 new types coming into the game of Rush Duels. We already went over the Cyborg type in the last video with Yuo's 3 fusion monsters, and now we have the Magical Knight type monster for Yuga, and then there will be another one that will go later on when we go over Luke's monster. And I'll kind of get my final discussions on these 2 cards and then kind of go over my thoughts on just these 2 new type of cards that we're going to be going over in this video. But getting back into the actual card, its requirements is Seven's Road Magician and Roadstar Swordsman, which I believe is another card that got announced with these 2 fusion monsters. So this is going to be one of the monsters that you're going to be using to fusion summon this monster. And its requirement is you can activate this effect by sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard, which it just seems like a lot of fusions have this type of effect. Its choice effect is this card gains attack equal to the number of different attributes in both graveyards times 400 until the end of this turn. So essentially it is just Seven's Road Magician's effect, because I believe it does the exact same thing where it gains attack points equal to the number of attributes in your graveyard. So it gained that effect from Seven's Road Magician. And the second one is shuffle 1 monster from your graveyard into the deck, then draw 1 card. So essentially what that can do is get back one of your cards, and then essentially you'll get a draw out of that. Now, it's a little bit of a weird effect, because I've been told this numerous times, and I even discussed in the last video, is I don't know how good drawing cards are in the game of Rush Duels. I've been told it can be good. I've been told it's not really practical to do that, but drawing 1 card I feel like wouldn't really be that big of a deal. Honestly, I always believe that drawing effects, whether it's Rush Duels or the Master Rule format, is still good, because you can extend it into further plays because you can get that additional card. Like, this could be a spell card that you can use during the duel as well, that you would had to wait a turn to actually use, or if it's a trap, you can set that trap card early and maybe use it a little bit earlier. At least that's what I've always believed. So in my opinion, that effect is honestly not that bad at all. And again, you're getting a monster back from your graveyard, so you can get back maybe like Seven's Road Magician or something like that and be able to use that later on in the duel, or you can get back one of your maximum pieces if that's something that's practical in the game of Rush Duels. Maybe get back one of your pieces, that way you can go into a maximum later on. I don't know if that's something that's practical, but maybe that's an option. I have no idea. But overall, I don't think it's that bad of a card, and gaining that 400 attack points for the monsters in your graveyard, I don't think that's that bad of an effect either. And this card can actually get a pretty good amount of attack points, because not only does it already have 2900 attack, but it gains 400 per card in the graveyard. So essentially you can get, well, if there's 6 monsters, that's 24, so that would be 5400 attack points for this monster, which could probably beat over a maximum. I think like Yugioh Dragon is like 4000 attack points if I remember correctly, so you can beat over that. So there you go, it's a nice card to be able to get over some of those bigger monsters. So in my opinion, not that bad of a card. But that's going to be it for Yuga's fusion, and now we're going to be going into Luke's fusion, which, fun fact, we've actually seen this card in action as it was used in the latest episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode 62, when Luke used it during his duel against Yugioh, which is also the character that is getting his own new type of monster with the cyborg type. And that monster that he used during that episode was Super Strike Dragon, Dragia Star F, a light high dragon fusion effect monster with 3000 attack and 2000 defense. So that is the other new type of monster that is going to be coming into the game of Rush Duel, and that is in the form of High Dragon. So we have the Cyborg type, the Magical Knight type, and the High Dragon type. So that's actually pretty interesting. And again, I'll discuss that more when we kind of do an overall discussion. Its requirement is you can activate this effect if all monsters in your graveyard are High Dragon and or Dragon monsters by sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard. So they're essentially trying to make you use a Dragon type deck in order to be able to use this card, which, since both of the materials are going to be Dragon monsters, more than likely you're going to be using a Dragon type deck to use this monster. And its multi-choice effects are, the first one being, this turn this card gains 900 attack. Also, it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters, so it can gain a nice 900 attack, make this 3900 attack, and essentially be able to beat over mostly everything. I think there are a couple maximum monsters that it can't be over, but to be fair, if you find another way to boost this card's attack, then there's no problem with that. So honestly, that's not that bad of an effect. And the second one is, this turn, this card can make a second attack. Also, it inflicts piercing battle damage. So if your opponent is trying to play a stall game, this can put them on a restricted time clock, because, or it can just finish out games in general, because if your opponent is just sending a whole bunch of monsters in defense position, not only can this card attack twice, but also it can deal piercing damage. So their whole tactic of just trying to stall out the game for something or whatever the case might be, essentially it's going to be either they're going to have to force to play something, or they're just going to end up losing the game because they're not going to be able to do anything. So in all honesty, this effect is honestly not that bad. And honestly, both effects aren't really that bad of effects. I feel like not only do I think they're pretty decent, but I feel like they're pretty even with each other, because one goes with, if your opponent is trying to go with all monsters in attack, you would more likely use the first one, but if your opponent is doing a more defensive strategy, then the second effect is going to be really good. The only downside for the second one is that it doesn't gain the 900 attack point stat. It essentially gains the piercing effect damage, while in the attack position situation, you would be able to gain 900 attack points and not only deal more damage, but might be able to get over some monsters that you might have a problem with, since there are monsters with 3000 attack points, like a Blue Eyes White Dragon. So essentially, this can get over something like a Blue Eyes. So in my opinion, these effects are honestly not that bad. Of course, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. Maybe this effect is really not that good. We'll have to wait and see. And again, let me know your guys' thoughts on these cards and if you think they're good or not, because obviously I'm not well diverse in the game of Rush Duel, so I could be wrong. I might be hyping up a card when it's honestly not going to be that good. So I'm going to have to wait and see on your guys' response. But that's going to be it for these 2 new fusions. for Yuga and Luke. General thoughts on them, pretty cool monsters. I think they have some pretty interesting effects, you know, both of them being able to gain attack points in certain ways. You know, Rook's Dragon being able to just gain 900 attack points in general and gets to attack twice. And then you also have Yuga's Fusion, which is able to gain 400 attack for each attribute in the graveyard and can gain insane amounts of attack points to be able to get over way bigger threats that maybe other monsters in their decks could not be able to get over, and then have some pretty interesting secondary effects, you know, with Yuga's being able to retrieve a card back from the graveyard, put it in the deck for essentially later in the duel that maybe can help him on later on, and then Rook being able to get through defensive walls and be able to deal damage to your opponent and also get the attack twice, and also for Yuga to be able to draw an additional card for extended play. So I think in their own rights, I think they're honestly not bad fusions in my opinion. I think these fusions were more impressive than some of the fusions we went over in the last video. Now, before I end off this video, I want to give a real quick opinion on the new types of monsters, you know, Cyborg type, Magical Knight, High Dragon. I want to give my quick thoughts on those. I think they're pretty interesting. Not what I was expecting for a new type of monster, because I will say though, although it's cool that we're getting new types, I was kind of hoping that we would get something besides them just being for the fusion monsters, because essentially what it looks like these new types are going to be is just like combinations of two types into one, or I guess for the High Dragon situation, you know, you fuse two dragons together to make an even stronger dragon, and then that's where you get something like High Dragon, which in my opinion that's probably my least favorite of the new types, just because I feel like the name isn't really that impressive, because High Dragon just to me just does not sound that interesting. I know it's like a more powerful dragon, but to me it's still a dragon, which to be fair, the other two types have it as well, like Magical Knight. Like honestly, it still kind of has the same aspects of like a spellcaster, and I know like you might say, well, spellcasters most of the time they normally don't use swords and all that stuff, or like wear armor or anything like that. You know, they're more used to using magic and stuff like that. But we have seen spellcaster type monsters use swords. I mean, Seven's Road Magician uses a sword, so it's not like it's out of the question for spellcasters to use swords. And wearing armor, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. That's just like if a monster was wearing like a suit or something like that, or some like weird clothes. I don't think that really matters. And then cyborgs are half machines, half just living being, and honestly, you can just call it a machine, and honestly, it would work, because essentially, because a cyborg is again a combination of a machine and a living being. Like, are they really human anymore? And that's where I get the whole aspect of, you could probably call a cyborg type a machine type, honestly it would still work. So I wish these fusions did stand out a little bit more, but because they are a combination of two types or advancing a type like High Dragon, it makes it to where that, yeah, they're gonna be similar to the other ones, which is completely fine. There's nothing bad about that at all. I just hope going forward we also do get a new type that will go into the main deck. We'll also have like a new type for maximum that goes with the main deck as well, and fusion as well. So basically you can build a deck around a new type. And maybe the reason they're not doing that is because maybe they're kind of out of options at this point, and I don't blame them. For people that don't know, there are 25 types of monsters in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and then you're adding these additional 3, which are a lot similar to 3 other types in the actual game of Yu-Gi-Oh right now. So they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to these new names of these monsters, and that's why I believe too is why they're also doing like these new types for exclusively fusion, because not only can you do the cool aspect of fusion 2 types together to make one new type, but also it's just an easy way to be able to give a new type, because maybe they just can't do something anymore for like just like an actual deck, because again, there's 25 types. I don't know how many more types you can even put in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's just my general thoughts to it for these new types, and I would love to know your guys' thoughts on these new types down below. But guys, that is going to be it for this Rush Duel video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys' thoughts were on these two new fusions. Do you think they're good monsters? Do you think they're okay? Or did you not really think these two fusions were that good at all? And let me know which of these two fusions are your favorite. Whether it's by design, whether it's by effect, I really do not care. Me personally, I'm always going to be someone that loves dragons. It's my second favorite type under Cyberse. I love the Cyberse type. But the new Dragius Star monster looks so cool. I really do like its design. But I will say this though, this Sevens Road Paladin actually looks pretty cool in my opinion. I think they did a lot of improvements to the original Sevens Road Magician, because I'm going to be honest, I think Sevens Road Magician's design is not that good at all. I really do not like the design of that monster, but they really have improved it with this new fusion. So I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on these two and which one is your favorite, and just your thoughts on the new types of monsters in general. Do you like them or do you not like them at all, or are you in the middle of the road with it? But with that being said, that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.